People have put a tracker under my vehicle.
No way. That's
Kind of like
insane.
first time that I was making 6 figures a month when I was 19 years old. Bought my first car, which is a Range Rover, in cash. 'Cause I felt like I'd outgrew dropshipping. I've already made millions of dollars, and like, what's another store with $1 million in revenue gonna do for me? And then business got a cease and desist. It got shut down because I went from thousands of dollars a day on my Shopify dashboard to $0 a day. Spent all the business's revenues on dumb shit. No views, no subscribers, no nothing. Nobody cared. The only person watching was my mom. 99% of people leave at that point. Creator burnout is real. It's worse than burnout in any other industry. It's not fundamental to human biology to be sitting in front of a camera lens all day. What happens when you get to the point where you have $1 million in your bank account at 20 years old and it's cash, and you have to turn inward and you have to be like, what am I really building for? They really just scared broke people into coming in and then paying thousands of dollars for something, and now they're even worse positioned when they started. We're looking at outlier cases of absolute geniuses who have built trillion-dollar companies from nothing, yet we are not seeing the 99.9% of other people who failed along that way. You're gonna lose. So why are we teaching that to kids at local universities? By the time business plan is done, game over. You're out, you're gone, you're crushed. Pick up the phone, close a damn deal. I like to think you don't have a business until you've made $1. So if you're starting a business, what are you doing if you're not selling? If you want to make a lot of money, you don't need a lot of views. It's nonsensical to go viral. It's backwards. Yeah, so basically the challenge was like, you'd go out with a group of students, you'd start a business, and then you'd see, whoever made the most net profit in, I guess it was like a 2-week span. I don't quite remember, but whoever, made the most money, kind of got their name on this plaque and this award and whatever. And it was funny because yeah, like the previous record was like, I don't know, like a few $1,000s or something, and we like completely shattered that record in the entire like business program for however many years that they were doing that. And you know, maybe they had to add some rules in because of that, because it wasn't necessarily the most fair competition, because I already had a very successful business. And so what I did was, obviously I couldn't use that business, that rule was in place, but what I did is I just spun up another company that basically does the exact same thing as my current business. We already know like what type of ad scripts work and are performing and things like that. So I just had the team like basically replicate something that I'm doing and run it at a low scale for the duration of the challenge. And I don't quite remember what it was, but I think it was around $30,000 in profit we made in a couple of weeks, and Brock and everybody was just like mind blown at the end of the challenge. But we broke it all down. We gave them a presentation on how we did it. But yeah, I guess not the most fair thing, because you're already running successful businesses. You know what works. You can just copy paste and then like succeed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like fair. I think you were just better, like so much better than everyone else that's the part that wasn't fair. I think it's complete, like, because you didn't. It's not like you just counted your current client revenue. Like you actually did
No,
it legit, right? Yeah, and also your camera's a little bit blurry. I don't know if it's.
it's a bit blurry.
Yeah, I don't know if it's.
It's showing up clear on my end. Should I here? I'll turn it off and on again.
Okay, money. Yeah, it's fine. Who cares? But yeah, so that's crazy. Yeah, I did it the year after, and like it was, you just kind of set a hard bar to hit. But we ended up winning, but we won with like 3K. I ended up just like selling lead lists and
Oh, okay.
making it work. But yeah, that's crazy. So you wanna okay? So I had a few questions. I don't know how much you want to get into your story, but I had like I watched pretty much all of your content, and I like kind of understand where these like parasocial kind of relationships are coming, because I almost felt like I knew you from watching your content, but obviously I don't. This is our first time meeting. So like, have you ever dealt with like people coming up to you in person? And is that like, because that's one of the things I'm most scared about. Like, um, yeah, have you had people come up to you? Is it good? Is it bad? Like, um,
Yeah, that's a funny question. To be honest, it happens all the time. It's not like I walk out on the street and like, people are like, I'm not a celebrity, right? But I walk out on the street, I go and do some stuff for, an hour or two in public, and I'm almost guaranteed to have like at least one person, usually like an 18 to like, 24-year-old male, kind of approach me and be like, yo, I watch your stuff, or like, give me like a handshake or like a tap up or something. And it's cool. Like I don't think it's really something to be afraid of or to worry about, in a sense where I really enjoy like just meeting new people and just talking to people, especially people that support me and kind of are in the industry to some degree, or at least watching, this type of content online. And usually results in very good chats. I'm always down to like, stop and have a quick discussion with somebody. Uh, it yeah, it's never really gotten weird. I mean, I've had times where certain individuals were like, oh, like pull out your phone and add me as a contact, or like a little bit like too like kind of like
Yeah.
forward. And then it just kind of gets a bit awkward, and I'm like, all right, okay, I guess, and like add them as a contact, and then like 2 seconds later I just delete it, because like it's just not the right way to like network with someone, by like being really forward and like really aggressive and really pushy with like whatever you're trying to impose on them. But 99% of the time it's like super chill, super good interactions. The only thing that I would be concerned about is personal safety and security, because at a certain point, like if you're quite well known and you have hundreds of thousands of followers online, all it takes is one bad egg, like, one bad person that says, okay, this is a guy that has some nice stuff, whether it be watches or cars or crypto or whatever it is, and like I want to come after him. And I haven't, thankfully faced anything severe yet, but there's been a couple of instances where people have found where my parents are, called my mom's cell phone number. People have put a tracker under my vehicle.
No way.
Like, so kind of
That's
like
insane, bro.
borderline like sketchy stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like I take accountability. Like I need to bring safety and security to the utmost concern when I'm posting, or when I'm being out there and getting views and making myself known. And so yeah, it's just a lesson to learn from. I would say, like, don't don't be worried about the exposure though, unless you're trying to get to a point where you kind of go mainstream and have like millions and millions of followers. But I think I probably have a little over 1 million followers across my main couple of platforms. And I mean, we do, on Instagram alone, we do 30 to 40 million views a month, which is a lot. But it's not that much in the grand scheme of things. Like majority, like 99% of the population doesn't know who I am. So it's like it's kind of more in the niche. If you know, you know. If you're into this type of stuff, you'll probably have seen my face or know who I am. But you got to think the vast majority of people are not even consuming this type of content or even aware, because we definitely sort of live in a bubble.
Yeah, I think that's like the best way to do it though, because people that are coming up to you are like either entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs. So it's like not like there's like children coming up to you and stuff like that. It's like at least it's like high. You have like a very high quality audience, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think probably the youngest people that I'll talk to are maybe 17, 18. So it's definitely not a thing where I'll have like 12 or 13-year-old kids running up to me. They have no idea who I am.
Yeah. And then so you got started. I was watching a little bit about your podcast. You got started doing ecom, or you got started doing agency, and then you kind of transitioned to ecom, right? And I see all these funnels of I'll build you a free store, or I'll build you a store for super cheap. Could you like, as someone, I'm always done business to business. I've never done really touched direct to consumer. So as someone who like doesn't really understand the full landscape, could you explain to me like how these funnels work? And like my thinking is like, how are you making money, or like how do you? Because obviously, even if you streamline the process so well, you can make these websites in 10 minutes. Like, what is like, yeah, what is the funnel? And like, yeah, I'm just curious how the business model works.
Yeah. So essentially, we have kind of three different departments in the business. So you can think of it like we have our media arm, which is like the YouTube channel, the Instagram, email lists, free communities, podcasting, things like that. Over here, we have like long-term brands that we're building. So currently building in the supplement space, the clothing space, and then potentially looking into building into the looks maxing, or sort of like male beauty space, because I have some interesting partners there, and people who have brought some interesting sort of propositions across the table. But that's sort of like the long-term ecom brands. And it's always been my dream and my goal to build $1 billion physical product company, probably ever since I was like 17, 18 when I was started. And even though we're doing other businesses, we have the media stuff. It's like that's still very much 10, 20-year goal. So that's why we have the long-term brand side of things. And then the third sort of department is like the short-term brand side of things. This is like drop shipping, right? And actually, I haven't really done drop shipping intensely for the past couple of years until recently. And within the past few months, I'm like, I want to get back into drop shipping. And the reason why I kind of, started focusing on long-term brands and media is because I felt like I'd outgrew dropshipping and the idea of taking a winning product, scaling it to even $1 million in a year. It didn't really excite me that much anymore because I've already made millions of dollars and like what's another store with $1 million in revenue going to do for me? Maybe a couple $100,000 in net profit and then on to the next one, but it's not really building something for the long run. So over the past couple of years, I've just been thinking, how do I allocate my time to things that are going to be around for the next decade? And so that's why we put a lot of time into the personal brand and into the content because that stays with you. You build a network, you build relationships that last a lifetime. On top of that, you're able to build products or connect with people or build communities that again can last a very long time. It's not necessarily a short-term thing. And I'm not saying dropshipping is a short-term thing, but it's like it's more of a launch pad. It's more of a testing ground. You can make some good money, but then eventually you want to build a long-term brand, or you want to do something else that's over a much longer time horizon. So the reason why I'm getting back into dropshipping now is precisely that, to use it as a testing ground for our long-term e-com ventures. And not only can we test products, right, but we can test people. And so that's kind of a big realization that I had now, where it's like, for me to run these brands successfully, I'm going to need really good CEOs. I'm going to need, really good creative strategists, really good media buyers, and I don't want to make the wrong hiring decision. So I almost need a correct hiring funnel before I allocate the right people to these long-term ventures of mine. And so dropshipping works very well for that. I have something called a funded operator program. This is very select. This is like not we don't talk about it, we don't post about it. But basically, if I find somebody that I feel like has a really strong skill set and the ability to become a great operator, I'll partner with them. I'll fund the entire thing. I'll take a small split of the equity and the profit, and I'll put my resources, my capital, everything behind them. We'll launch a dropshipping store. If it doesn't really work out long term, we'll turn it into a challenge or a case study video, which we can then highlight in the media arm. If it does work out long term, we'll bring it to the long term side, and I'll hire that person in that business. So that's kind of the three different departments that we have going on. And then in terms of the media arm, the mission that we have right now is we want to make the world's best free e-commerce education. And I say free because I say free, like kind of in quotations, because people still do have to pay for subscriptions, right? Nothing in this world is free. They'll have to pay for, Shopify store to host their website. They'll have to pay for UGC creators, whatever it is, in order to scale their business. But free on our side. So we're giving all the education, we're giving the coaching, we're giving 24/7 support, all of this stuff for free, so long as the user pays for a subscription to start hosting their website, and that's how we get paid. We're incentivized by the biggest brands in the world. We have some private deals that I can't really talk about the exact structure, but some private deals with some of these larger e-commerce companies like Wix, like Shopify, like AutoDS, and so they will pay us to bring long-term users that have success on their platform, and that's what we do on the media side. Now, in the past, we did sell a coaching program, like an info product, right? And it worked very well. We made millions of dollars in a couple of years. We got tons of great, student results. People loved it. I really enjoyed it. But ultimately, we reached a point where, one, it was, extremely time intensive because these clients, and rightfully so, they demand my time. The big reason why they wanted to pay to work with us is to speak with me. But what happens when you have hundreds or thousands of clients? It's very hard to then over deliver and provide a fantastic service. On top of that, info is very, nothing against the info space. It's phenomenal space, but it's very, you know, cash flow focused. So like you make the cash and then you're on to chasing up the next client, which makes it really hard to invest deeply in the current clients that you have, because in order for the business to stay afloat and to keep growing, you need to keep that client acquisition going, right? And so very much that's what we're still doing on the affiliate side, but I've attached myself to a much greater mission, a much greater purpose that I feel so much more aligned with, rather than, okay, let's charge thousands of dollars for people to learn ecom. It's like, no, let's create the best free education in the world, free tools, free software, free coaching, and no one can compete with that. We're kind of there are other free courses, there are other free things. I'm yet to see a full on free mentorship the way that we do it. And so it's so nice because, like, I mean, one, there's a lot of people that butt heads in the info space. There's a lot of people that say, oh, this guy's a scammer, this guy does this guy. No one can talk bad about us anymore because I can come on and I can clear that up and I can say, let me walk you through the program right now. Nobody in the world is giving out this much value and making it free. Right now, thankfully, fortunately, we've been in this game for a while, so we're in a position where we're able to do that because of these partnerships that we have with these large companies. But that's really how it works right now. And we have different funnels all over the place, which are essentially lead magnets, as you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Store builders, free courses, etc. That draws the people in. By the end of it, they'll get on a call with a representative from our team. And this is not a mentorship sales call. This is the representative from our team genuinely helping them and saying, hey, if you take this seriously and you want to subscribe to Wix or to Shopify and start an e-commerce store and start selling, we're going to give you a free mentorship. We're going to give you weekly calls, 24/7 support, every resource imaginable, full courses, software tools at your disposal to use for free, so long as you take this seriously, right? And
Yeah.
so it's kind of the model that we're running now, and it's super exciting. And I know I kind of rambled on, but I wanted to give you a clear picture of the three different components of the business.
100%. And I think that that's like a genius model because it's almost a little bit like the Robin Hood, right? Like instead of taking the money from the broke guys who can't afford it, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the only really kick. I think info is great, but like, people don't like it because you're taking the money from these people who can't really afford it. Whereas now, everyone, you need to pay for Wix, Shopify, Versal, whatever it is, you're going to have to pay for it. So instead of taking the money from the user, you're taking it from the giga company and getting paid on the back end. So it's like, I think that's a great way of doing it because it also like, if you don't have any upside yourself, you're not going to give a shit about it and you're not going to be able to help these people as much. And now you also are like, your interests are aligned with your users, right? So like your users know that you want them to succeed because you're getting a portion of their profits or whatever, right? So it's like you have to care about your users in your community, right?
100%. It's like, you know, my team, myself, and our clients say this all the time. We're on the same side. We make money together. And that's why it's so cool because, like, in traditional info product, the more you charge the client, the more money you make. And sure, like they might go on to get crazy client results and, do have tons of success and make tons of money because of you. Again, I'm not saying info is a bad model, but I'm just saying that in our structure, everyone wins all the time,
Yeah. And
right?
it's also
In a normal info, sorry, in a normal info product, it's like there's a success rate. And so the successful students win, but what happens to all the other students, right? All the other students that aren't a part of that success rate. Well, they've came in, they've spent thousands of dollars, they've got discouraged, they've walked away, and they've got upset and they've complained. And that is what creates a bad sentiment around info. And I don't blame an info seller for that, actually. And I don't even necessarily blame the client either for not getting results. It's just not everyone can be successful with starting a business. It's just the fact of the matter. Like the entire world, if everyone could do it and it was that easy, then everybody would be doing it, right?
Mhm.
But not everybody can. Some people aren't wired that way. Some people have different brain chemistry. They can't sit and focus behind a computer screen for a long time. They need to get up and do things with their hands. And so online business just certainly isn't for everyone. And so the problem with info is that, like, you will attract those wrong types of people, especially depending on the type of marketing you're putting out. Some people are better than others with it, but some people, they do a lot of fear mongering. They really just scare, kind of, as you said, these kind of broke people into coming in and then paying thousands of dollars for something. And now they're in a worse position than when they started. And that's not all the people, but there, of course, in every info product, there's a percentage of people where that happens. And so that's why I love, like, with our model, it's a win for everyone all the time because people don't have to spend thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and what I think is like even better too is that they are spending the money on shit that actually like moves the ball forward, right? They're buying a website. You have to have a website like hosting. You have to have a Shopify store. So they're spending that money on the things that actually help their business as opposed to spending it on a course. You spend all that money, now you have no money to spend on Shopify, to spend on inventory, etc. But transferring to that too, like you mentioned how you about marketing, how it's like you kind of take a different approach, a lot more educational. And I went through literally all your content, and it's like you have like a strategy, but I can't even put it into words. So if you were to kind of put me on game for 2026. What is like the media strategy to kind of grow? Because obviously you've been big for so long as well. Like, and also if you want to add, like, how do you stay big for so long? Because there's people that come up and fall off so fast. I've seen like probably 1,000 people who've came up and fell off since you've started, and you've just kind of had that slow, always growing, and like you never had a big crash.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, the drawback to that strategy is that you typically don't ever have like, these crazy explosive movements either, because you're kind of just like steady growing across the board year over year over year over year. And I've chosen to play that way, that strategy, that game of like just consistency compounding, versus some people, they'll do some big stunts or they'll go all out and like grow a lot, but then they'll crash and burn. And I think that if you wanted to take a similar approach, you basically just have to have a long term and a systems first approach, right? Because if you're just going in there, you're just shooting everything on your iPhone, like that's great, but like, where's the longevity? Because as a creator, it's very easy to burn out. Like creator burnout is real. It's worse than burnout in any other industry, I think, because it's not easy and it's not simple and it's not normal. It's not fundamental to human biology to be sitting in front of a camera lens all day and recording yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so like it's no wonder why you burn out when like you spend all day recording yourself, because it's weird, it's unnatural, it's not normal. And you can convince yourself all you want that staring down a camera lens and talking to it like a best friend is going to make things feel all the better. But at the end of the day, you're still sitting there staring down a camera lens. It's weird. It's weird for everyone. It's weird for me, and I've been doing this for however many years in the game. So I understand that burnout is something that we actively have to avoid, and the easiest way to avoid burnout is to set up the right systems where we can actually be consistent. And so when I started YouTube, an example of this is I said, I'm going to give myself 1 year and create one video every single week for an entire year. And then I'll reassess the channel and see if it's something I want to continue. Right. And after a year, 30,000 subscribers, things were going great. And I continued. But the first few months, no views, no subscribers, no nothing, nobody cared. The only person watching was my mom. And so 99% of people leave at that point in time. But because I set up the system and the goal of being consistent rather than the goal of a subscriber count or a view count, my goal was to be consistent and my system was to post once a week no matter what. And then I started building systems on top of systems to make sure that that could actually happen. But that is the same mindset that you can apply to anything in life, but specifically in content creation. In my opinion, it's the only way to do it that makes sense. It's the only way that I could do it that makes sense and that would actually work. Without that way of thinking, I would have just given up on the whole content thing, because it's hard and it's only getting harder. There's a lot of creators out there. There's a lot of talented people creating good content. Um, but another cool thing is, in today's day and age, the algorithms have got so good at matching up people with content. So people think that they have to make content like me, or that they have to make content like Logan Paul or Mr. Beast in order to, get views and grow. But first you need to define your goal, right? So if your goal is making money, it doesn't actually make sense to create content like I do. You shouldn't be watching what I do, because I am now following a strategy that makes sense for our current monetization structure. And there is nobody in the world, at least to my knowledge, that has the exact same business structure and monetization structure that I do. And so therefore, there's nobody in the world that my current content strategy, like,
Would work for.
bit by bit, would work as well as it would work for me, because we've designed it based on our business goals. And so nowadays, if you want to make a lot of money, you don't need a lot of views. You just need to get clear on your goals. You need to get clear on what your business is and what kind of people you're attracting to your business. And so I have friends with 500 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers, with very, very small, like micro niche channels, getting a couple hundred views a video max, making multiple six figures a month. And so
Yeah.
that's what I'd recommend for people starting content today. It's like, have a business, have a goal, go deep on that topic and provide very specific advice to one person, and you can make a lot of money off a lot less views. Now, if you wanted to go broader and try to, become more well known, and I don't know what the reason for you wanting to do that would be. In my case, we went broader because we moved from, selling info to selling affiliate. And so the affiliate game is naturally broader, right? We're getting these people in, we can get everybody in because everybody can afford it because it's free. So therefore, the more views, the better. But for somebody selling a $10,000 program, it's nonsensical to go viral. It's actually it's
Backwards
it's
almost.
it's backwards, and it's negative because, and people say, oh, you need top of funnel content, and then like the top of funnel will eventually trickle down to like the middle funnel. It's wrong because people don't want to buy, like, from my YouTube channel, for example, with almost 600,000 subscribers, from my Instagram with around almost a million followers. People don't want to come to my Instagram and they don't want to buy something off of me for $20,000, for $10,000, right? Because of the way that I've positioned myself. Now, obviously, I can provide value in $10,000, $20,000 package, but that's not what I'm doing. And so, you know, it's actually counterproductive to make these sort of broad videos. For example, we sometimes post like relationship videos with my girlfriend and I, or we post like lifestyle videos, right? Someone who wants to invest $20,000 with someone to learn a very specific skill to grow their business from 100K to $1 million a month isn't going to buy it from the guy posting relationship content and posting lifestyle content, or even flexing a Lambo or any of this, because it's irrelevant. It's not. It actually like kind of hurts your ability to sell to that level of the market, right? And so they'd much rather buy from the guy that's in the trenches, in the weeds, only getting a few views in a video, but is flexing his knowledge and his value in every single video.
Yeah, and hyper
Versus,
niche, right? Like is kind of what you're
yeah,
saying too. Like very targeted videos that you're speaking to exactly your ICP, and you'd say like also like so you're saying like do a lot of videos that are high value to your like specific niche of people, and then don't try like fuck the top of funnel, do education and convert those people that are gonna like pretty much demonstrate that you're an industry expert and post a lot of content, and don't try to go viral, because once you go viral too, and tell me if this is like wrong, I don't really get the whole algorithm, but when you get a viral video, then it starts to feed your other videos, like it messes up the targeting. Whereas if you're always posting to the same ICP, it'll kind of know who your posts want to go out to, right?
100%. Yeah, and so, if you have a YouTube channel and you are, I don't know, teaching people how to get access to private credit or something, and then you drop a video on why creatine is the best supplement, it's just gonna, like, even if that video goes viral, it's gonna mess everything up for you, because your new audience is now expecting you to make videos on why creatine is the best supplement, and they want nothing to do. And obviously, that's a very far apart example. Those are
Yeah,
two completely different niches, but you want to be as aligned as possible and talking to one specific person, helping them ideally with one specific thing, if you want to make money. Now, the conversation isn't like, if you want to be famous and you want to get views and you want to be a big creator, then honestly, I'm probably not even the most qualified to talk on that either. But the idea is it's much different. At that point, like, the types of content you create, the scripts, the style, the editing, everything changes. But at least from an entrepreneurial standpoint, if you want to make money and you want to use your content as an engine, it has to have a very specific purpose. And just blindly following views is never going to get you to where you want to go.
yeah, yeah. That's great advice. That's great advice. And like going on, like how did you kind of like get started, and how did you like learn all this stuff? Like did you have someone, because I know you said you sold info as well, like did you have someone that like put you on, or did you have like a mentor or someone? Because I don't know if you know Alex Zastry, he's part of like the Van guys. He really like put me on. Like I met him like 4 or 5 years ago, and like learned with him, and he kind of was like, I feel like most people have one person they can point to that kind of was like, if I didn't meet this person, I think my life would be significantly different now. So like, did you have someone like that in your life, and who was it, and what did they do?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had people like that in my life, but I think that there was one specific person that comes to mind, that when I went from, and I was already making around $30,000 a month at the time, but this one specific person, his name is Chad. Still consider him a mentor of mine to this day. He basically showed me the roadmap, the unlocks, and the systems, and exactly what I needed to do to get to six figures a month with my e-commerce business. And I remember it's a funny story. I DM'd him on Instagram, and he DM'd me and he said, "I'd love to help you out." And this isn't he doesn't sell info, or at least at the time he was. This is not like coaching or anything. He's just a guy crushing it in ecom. He said, "I'd love to help you out. Fly out to LA." And I said, "Okay, done." I literally booked the next flight. I flew to LA. I didn't know who this guy was. I didn't know like, what, but I just pulled up. I called him when I got there. I think I was 20 years old, 19 maybe, 19 or 20. And I called him and I said, "Yo, I'm here. I'm in LA." And he's like, "What the fuck? Like you actually pulled up, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, you told me to pull up." And I'm kind of stressing. I'm like, "Shit, like what I'm here in LA by myself, like just hoping that this guy will actually link up with me." And he's doing like, you know, 8 figures a year. So why does he even care about me? Um, but I just followed my gut, and he picked me up, Brabus G wagon, like diamonds on the wrist. I'm like, holy shit, like this guy's got it like that, right? And just kind of eye opening for me seeing like,
That it's
his
actually like
house
possible, you
and
know?
stuff. Yeah, and he's the guy who came from nothing as well, came from a third world country, moved to US, grinded it out his whole life. And he's a little bit older, so I think he's like 31 or 32 now, but at the time he was, late 20s. Um, and he's like, "Dude, you know how many people I tell to pull up to LA and I'll help them?" And I was like, "No." Like he's like, "I say that to everyone." And he's like, "And you're the only one who actually pulled up. Like you actually just flew here because I said that." And then because of me doing that, he believed in me and he was like, "You're gonna go far. Like you've got what it takes, 100%. Let me help you.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, I'm gonna help you." Right. And so that was just such a pivotal moment in my career. And honestly, having someone like him, who I really, really, really still look up to, but really, really looked up to at the time, to kind of,
Point you
talk
in
to
the
me and
right
say
direction. Yeah.
that, but also be like, "I believe in you. Like
Hmm.
you're gonna go really fucking far." And so now something that I take with me from that story is I try to be that for other people. And I can't be that person for everybody because obviously I have a lot of followers and stuff. But people in my life a couple years younger than me asking me for help, asking me for support. Um,
Even me with
I
this stream, like I appreciate you hopping on, giving me some sauce, and like giving me your time because I know too you must be like so busy. Like I've been just starting to do content and run a business at the same time, and it's like your content first of all is like so much higher quality that I can imagine you have like folders and folders of B-roll and like coordinating editors. You've got three components of your business. Like I can't even imagine how hard it is to get to your time. So like I really appreciate hopping on with me. And like so like now so after you met him, you kind of got it. Now you made it. Was there ever a point that like the money went to your head? Like it not doesn't have to be in a bad or a good way, but like where it just like changed your perspective for the worst or like messed up with your goals or vision or anything like that? Because I find that's like something you see a lot of is like as soon as someone makes it, they spend all their bag, and it negatively affects the business as well, right?
Yeah, there's been a couple of different situations. The first time that I was making six figures a month when I was 19 years old. I went out and I started spending all the business's revenues. I, bought my first car, which was a Range Rover, in cash. I started buying all this designer clothes and all this jewelry and all this drip and stuff that like I wish that I could have when I was in high school, but I could never afford. The car being the first thing that I had to do, and then vacations, treating friends and family, and expensive dinners, like just like blowing the money. And then business got a cease and desist. It got shut down because I was using stolen content. Not only was I not making any more money, so I went from thousands of dollars a day on my Shopify dashboard to $0 a day, but I was losing money every day because I had chargebacks coming through, I had refunds coming through, I'd spent all the business's revenues on dumb shit, and so taxes. I wasn't even thinking about taxes. And now I'm in a position where not only am I losing money every single day, but I got tax season coming up, and so yeah, I was just kind of in this like downward spiral, and it actually put me in a bit of a dark place for a bit because I had worked so hard, so unbelievably hard to become the person that people could look up to, people could be inspired by. My parents, my friends, my family are finally seeing, okay, all this shit he talked actually worked. You know, he is successful. He is, and for me to go and tell everybody and say, actually, guys, you were right. I fucked everything up, and I started losing. Like it was impossible. I actually didn't do it. I
Yeah,
was too
you
much of
have
a
to
coward.
figure
I
it out,
couldn't do.
right? Like,
So instead, and this was why it was a very hard time for me because I had no support. I had nobody because everybody thought I was doing well when in reality I wasn't. So I kind of locked myself in my room for, 6, 7 months, grinded, figured a way out, launched new stores, and then, it was a matter of time before some of those stores popped off and I started making good money again. But that was like the first big like dumb mistake with spending money that led to places that it shouldn't have gone to if I had just not spent that money in the first place. Um, and then yeah, later down the line as well, like making a lot of money can definitely cause a lot of issues, mostly in, interpersonal relationships with friends and family and, partners and things like that. And it did just sort of mess with my life a little bit outside of work, as it would. And I kind of had to, it was a long process of figuring out, you know, who I am. And it was something that I didn't really have to figure out before because I was so focused on the externals. I was so focused on building a business and making money and doing all this stuff. But what happens when you're starting to make good money? What happens when you already have, when you get to the point where you have $1 million in your bank account at 20 years old and it's cash and it's liquid and it's sitting there and then you have investments and well, then it's like you kind of have to turn inward and you have to be like, okay, like, what am I really building for? Who am I? What do I value? And it just took a long time for me to like fully flesh that out and figure out who I truly am. And then I feel like it's still a work in progress, but I'm at a point where, I'm just super comfortable with like the person that I am, that I became. I'm super happy with my life and all the people in it as well. But it's just a process and it's a journey for sure.
yeah, and going on that, and you said it kind of messes with like your partner and whatnot. And I know you got a girl, and you guys been dating for a while, I think, as well. Like, what would you say, like, because I've kind of been in the mindset where like if I get a girlfriend, first of all, I'm gonna have to spend a lot of time to try to get a girlfriend. Second of all, once I get a girlfriend, that's gonna be more time, and I don't really like, as you mentioned, you gotta keep your goals in mind. Like, I don't like, obviously I want to have a family and all that, but I think that my biggest priority and what I need to do first is like figure out my business and figure out my life before I get a girlfriend. So, do you have any advice for me as well as like how have you kind of handled it and what would you like avoid? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think that something I've learned is there never really is the right timing. And so what I mean by that is like, when you're a little bit younger, you're going to be like, oh, I want to wait until like I have a little bit more money, and then like maybe you have a little bit more money, and then you're like, oh, like, but once I have like this house, and then once I have this car, and then once I have like this this and that, then I'll find the perfect girl, or then like the perfect girl will want me even more because I have all this stuff, and then like you wait and wait and wait, and then like more time goes by, and you're like, okay, well, actually, like I'm working all day, so like I don't have time for a girl right now. I just got to progress, like keep progressing. I love what I do for work, and so you're like, okay, maybe once I have more freedom, once I hire a CEO, once I remove myself from this business and like whatever, then I can like find a woman and start a family. And like it's going to be a never ending rationalization of why it's not the right time. And so I don't really believe in timing anymore. Like if it's the right person, then it's always the right time. And so if you're able to find someone in your life, naturally that is a really good fit for you, I think you'd be stupid to not take
yeah.
that at any point in your career because it's like, at an earlier point, then you can build together. At a later point, well, then maybe you can kind of, she can take care of the house more and you can kind of focus on your career more. And that could be a beautiful little dynamic. But like, it doesn't really matter. If it's the right person, it's always the right time.
Hmm.
That's what I,
And like, would you say you just kind of like know, like if you just feel it if it's that right person? Because I feel like it's like it's obviously easy to say if it's the right person, the right time, but the hard part is kind of like knowing if that is the right person.
yeah. So, I mean, I think the reality of it is that you do have to get out there, get outside of your comfort zone, go on dates, travel, meet new women, meet new girls, right? Because that gives you a data set to work with. Because if you only ever talk to like one girl, you're not really gonna know if it's the right person or not, and you're always gonna have in the back of your mind like, oh, like I don't know if this is the right girl for me. Like I think there might be someone better, or like whatever. But if you've gone on, let's say, like even like 20 dates, 30 dates, or like you met so many different girls, when you find someone that is the right one for you, like you will know
Yeah.
because like your mind will just be like, wow, she's nothing like the other 30 girls that I've like been on a date with or whatever it is, right? And so I think you do the only way to get there is by just again, just like in business, just kind of throwing yourself
Just
off the
follow
deep
you,
end.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. And like investing as well. Like obviously you got to invest in a good girl, but do you do like because obviously there's like I kind of try to separate it like entrepreneurship and like investments, you know what I mean? Do you do a lot of like actual investing, whether it's like publics, private deals, or are you mostly just investing in yourself, investing in your own businesses?
Investing in myself and my own businesses is always priority number one. But I'm fortunate enough to have been in a position over the past few years where there are times where I have excess cash flow or dividends that I can take out of the companies, and then like I just don't immediately need for my own personal lifestyle or expenditures. And so for those types of investments, I mean, I'm looking at I've started to build a little bit of a real estate portfolio in Dubai. I've actually started been investing in crypto since 2021. I love stocks. I've been investing in stocks, like selecting my own stocks and also in index funds.
What type of
For
stocks do you like? Because I'm super into
most,
that like niche, like just like equity research as well.
Right now, I really love software stocks. And it's funny, it kind of goes against the grain, but it's because most of the biggest software companies in the world, Salesforce, Datadog, Snowflake, et cetera, they're all down 30,
So
40, even
bad,
up to
yeah.
50% all-time highs. Yet their earnings reports are the best they've ever been. Salesforce is in talks with Anthropic, and like these companies are actually, just doing better than they ever have throughout the increase in production in the economy because of AI. And people, the mass public sentiment right now is that like software is going to die because of AI. But when you have companies of this size, they continue to adapt. They have so much data, they have so many users, they have the biggest clients in the world, they are embedded in the infrastructure of AI clients and the biggest companies in the world. Like a company like Salesforce, and they're beating earnings estimates. I just don't see them going anywhere. Maybe in a long time, sure. Every company has life cycles, but like in the short run, I don't see them going anywhere. They're growing, and they're just on a crazy discount right now. Is how I'm looking at it. Of course, I do love tech stocks as well. I've made a lot of money, obviously, over the past few years in the Magnificent Seven. Um, anything somewhat AI related as well. I'm pretty bullish on.
My
And
my biggest call for this year was ASML.
yeah,
Yeah, like because I think it's like where my thesis is like from listening to you. I think your thesis is like you're using your like your educational edge. You understand software. You understand like do you use Salesforce yourself or no?
we have in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, but like you know what I mean. Like so you understand the business models better than other people. Like I try to just like invest in like brain dead opportunities. Like ASML is the only person that could make that machine. So I figure like, okay, well if they're the only person that can do it, they're gonna continue to win. Um, how do you kind of apply like your investment thesis to your businesses, right? Because you're investing in only the best companies. So how do you like kind of take what you kind of view as like oh they're doing that amazing? Do you like take that and use it in your own business, or is it kind of just completely separate?
I mean, there's a lot to learn from these multi-billion and trillion-dollar companies, of course. But I think the size and the scale that particularly a lot of these tech companies are on versus, you know, my business and my current portfolio of things are just
Yeah,
wildly different as to where like it becomes a bit hard to find insight that's actually applicable and can help you at your current career stage. And so it's like this is something that actually bothered me with university. To be honest, where I don't know if you did any of this, but in my time, we studied a lot of like case studies on some of these big founders and these great tech companies. At one point, we were studying NVIDIA a little bit. This was honestly not that long ago. Um, and so we do this big like sort of macro analysis into this company, and we kind of learn about the founder and all this stuff. But in my head, I'm like, this is not helping any of the students get there or become entrepreneurs, because we're looking at outlier cases of absolute geniuses who have built trillion-dollar companies from nothing with the survivorship bias. We are not seeing the 99.9% of other people who failed along that way. And so it's like, if you want to take that path of living in Silicon Valley and eating ramen noodles out of a $400 a month shoebox for your whole life until your company pops off in the public market, and then you finally get multi-billionaire status, then go for it. But you're going to lose, right? These people, unless you're an ultra genius or unless you have some crazy connections, you're going to lose. So why are we teaching that to kids at local universities in Canada who are never going to do that? Or if they are going to do that, they're going to do it in stages. And so it would be so much more applicable for our business school to teach us how to run the local laundromat down the street, how to
Yes.
how to run a car wash, how to do a car detailing business, how to start an online service-based business. Could you imagine if entrepreneurship school taught us that stuff? We'd be making money right away, getting through stage one, and then we'd go to stage two, and then we go to stage three, and then one day we can build $1 billion company. But it happens in stages. You don't start from a college student and become Elon Musk. So why
No.
are we studying Elon Musk?
Yeah, exactly. And that was like, yeah, my biggest pet peeve with university. It's like I feel like I learned a lot of useless stuff because everything I learned would help me if I had a multi-billion dollar business, but my business is nowhere near there. And it's like they kind of miss the skills of like what you really need to do right now. And going on that too, like when I was researching your stuff, it kind of sounded like the biggest pivot moment for you was when you kind of like first sold for your first agency, right? You just started calling people up, you signed a client, and you had no idea what the fuck you were gonna do, but you sold them, right? And like one thing I think university never teaches, and I'd love for you to touch on, is that like you have to always sell first, or you'll have no idea if the business is any good. Like they always teach you make this business plan this out. What's the business model? But if you haven't sold anything, you might do all this planning, and it's a bad business at the core of it, right? And then yeah, I'll just let you go on that because you kind of I think that's the thing that I missed for so long, and then once I figured out, it changed my life, and it like I hear a lot of people say the same thing.
100%. I mean, you covered a lot of what I would say very well. I like to think you don't have a business until you've made a dollar. So if you're starting a business, what are you doing if you're not selling, if you're not making money, right? There's no point of building out this massive, what they teach you in university, this massive business plan and spending months, because the market moves faster than that. By the time the business plan is done, game over.
Yeah.
You're out, you're gone, you're irrelevant, you're crushed. So pick up the phone, close a damn deal on something, dive in head first, figure out how it works, and then come up with the business plan. Okay, I have this client. He needs XYZ. I'm doing this work for him. Oh, I'm realizing he actually needs this. He actually needs that. This could be more efficient. That could be better. And now you're getting real time data and solving real world problems, which is going to allow you to build the foundation and the structure of your business. Versus if you're just sitting there hypothetically thinking, okay, my ICP is yoga studios. What do yoga studios need? They need yoga mats, they need clients, and you're building this all out, and you bring it to a yoga studio and they're like, yeah, we don't need this. We already have it. This software does it. That sucks. We don't need you. Like, you don't know until you go to the source, call the client, make the pitch, make the sale, do what needs to be done. So I fully agree with you, and I think that's another place where business school is completely backwards, because you don't have a business until you made a dollar.
Yeah. So after like going through the process of university, I know it's like you can't live with regret, blah blah blah. But if you could turn back time and you had like all the knowledge you had now of how it would have turned out, how business school is, would you do it again? Like, would you go to university again?
Well, uh, that's so tough to say, because like if I had the knowledge that I had now, I wouldn't. But if I went back in time and I didn't have the knowledge that I had now, I would, because the butterfly effect on things is something that you can't really, like, what if I met a friend at university who then introduced me to that friend and then this? Like I started my first business at university,
Hmm.
right? So like I don't really know the other side of the coin if like I never went to school at all. That being said, I'm pretty sure, based on my character and thinking back to who I was, I'm pretty sure that irrespective of going to university or not, I would have found a way to make money. I would have started a business, and I probably would have ended up in a somewhat similar position, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
just don't know how much or how little university contributed to that, or if it took away or if it affected that, because it's kind of impossible to say. And I'm not on the like I hate university side of the spectrum either. Like obviously went to university for 4 or 5 years. But I just think there's a lot of things that they could do better. They should be pushing to do better. They should be helping the students more in different ways. The learning styles should be different. It's just archaic is what it is. It's just behind with the times, right? But I'm not necessarily saying that school is a bad thing. For a lot of people, it's a great thing. For a lot of people that can afford it, it's a good testing ground to figure out what they want to do with life. So I'm not completely on the side of like university is a scam, but I'm not also on the side of like college is the best decision. Go to college. I think especially now, it really just depends on like what you want to do with your life, how much money you have, um, and if school is an appropriate route for you. And I think going back in time to answer your question, I don't think I would go to school. It's just so hard to say, but
Hmm.
like going back in time, I don't think I would because like I was just gonna do a business regardless.
Yeah.
It's just me.
Did you have like, I know this sounds dumb, but like, did you have fun? You know what I mean? Like the partying, the social life, the like dorms, or were you in clusters or in dorms?
I was in clusters.
Yeah, so like I don't know,
Yeah.
I feel like for me at least, like I'm in the same boat as you. I wouldn't advise or unadvise to go to university, but I'd say like over like I'd say I'd learned so little, but the biggest thing I learned is like growing up, maturity, like living alone, and like for example, like when I went to university, I didn't have a whole ton of friends there. So then it's like, okay, it's now you have to make new friends. Now you're learning like low level networking skills with like very little like risk, you know what I mean? And kind of like forcing you into there. Then you go on exchange, you like move to a different country, you know what I mean? Like I think for me at least, like those were the things that I actually took from university. Not like I didn't like learn how to fucking run Facebook ads from university or anything uh, that actually made me money. You know?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Like, in terms of the knowledge in university, completely obsolete. If you're a fast learner, you know, Claude or ChatGPT can teach you everything 10 times faster. But in terms of the soft skills, right? The networking, the making friends, the gaming the system a bit and knowing how to talk to your profs and get better marks. Like all these little things, these soft skills that you're building, you don't realize. And so I think that that's the value of the university. It's almost like if you're buying an info product today, right? The value of the info product is not the information because the information can be found like that with AI. The value of the info product is the community, the network, the accountability. Someone saying, "Oh, you have to show up, you have to come to your calls, oh, you have to go to your classes," same as university, right? So the value is actually not the knowledge, and you're 100% right. So I think that's what it comes down to is are you the type of person that could really benefit from those soft skills? Or do you already have a lot of those soft skills? Do you already know what you want to do with your life? And do you not need to go to college?
Yeah,
Right?
it kind of just like delays it. And like, yeah, going on that, I think it's a kind of funny question, but have you ever bought a course like when you were coming up? Were you like a guy who was into that, or was that even a thing when you were coming up, or like, did you ever pay for info?
Yeah, 100%. Like back when I was learning at, 18, I was 2019, 2020, something like that. There wasn't a lot of like info wasn't what it was today. So it was more so courses. So I just bought courses, like, $200 courses, $500 courses on dropshipping. Like I would just buy like different things. And the more money that I would make, I would just spend it right back into learning because there wasn't really AI. There wasn't even that many YouTube creators. So I needed to get my hands on as much information as possible, and it was the best decision ever because it just allowed me to, continually break new barriers. And I think that if you're a self starter and you're someone who holds yourself accountable, then buying information in that way and perpetually investing in yourself can work very, very well. But I think for a lot of people back then, when it was just courses, the reason why courses got a bad rep and the industry kind of the whole course industry got a bad rep, it actually started way back then. And it started way back then because most people aren't self-starters. Most
Mm-hmm.
people do have a hard time staying accountable. And so what happens when somebody buys a $500 course, but they're not accountable, they're not a self-starter, they're not a hard worker, they're not going to get the value because they're not going to, see any
Yeah.
results from the course. But everything I bought, I saw results from, even if it was a shitty course. And the reason is because I forced myself to get the results from it. I went through everything and I found that one piece of information that I could extract and use to further my career. Right. So a lot of the time, and that's why I don't hate the info space, because a lot of the time, like there are great coaches, great people doing great work in this industry. It just gets a bad rep because there are a lot of people that unfortunately they learn in different ways and they're not, self-starters that will keep themselves accountable and find the value in it.
Yeah, 100%. And I heard you talking about like a lot about like limiting beliefs, and like I've heard it kind of like fly around as like, I don't know if I'd say like a buzzword, but I never fully understood like what it actually means. So could you like almost like define it and then explain how you cannot have these limiting beliefs?
Yeah, real quick, how much time do we have left in the stream? Because I do have to run in a few minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to just finish this question? You can help.
Sure, yeah, that sounds good. So, how do I define limiting beliefs? Well, I think a limiting belief is really just any belief that you hold about yourself, subconsciously or consciously, that stops you from achieving something that you want in this world. So I think the greatest marker of intelligence is actually your ability to get what you want out of this life, right? I can't, even though I may have made more money than, you know, this homeless guy down the street, I can't technically say I'm more intelligent than he is because maybe that's the life he wanted to live.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not because he's homeless and he would probably prefer a better lifestyle, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy who makes $2,000 a month but surfs every day is way more intelligent than I am, because he's living his dream life every single day for as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think with limiting beliefs, it really is, what is your dream life? What do you want? What do you actually want? Who do you want to be and what do you want to achieve in this world? What's the gap between where you currently are and what that is? And what are all the beliefs that you have to break along that gap? That's the best way that I think about limiting beliefs. Do I still have limiting beliefs? 100%. I think most of the population does, probably 99.9% of people, and it's just a never-ending journey and process of breaking those down. But really, anything can be anything can be a limiting belief, because like I really believe that reality is whatever you make it to be. Anything is technically possible, um, in this world, in this life, unless it's blocked by physics or something, and then I guess technically it would be impossible. But these things can change. Even Einstein's been proven
Yeah.
wrong. So technically, anything is possible. And God knows where we're going with AI as well. So when you really think about it, any belief that you hold, any time that you say, I can't do that, that's impossible, I won't be able to, it's all a limiting belief. You
Mm-hmm.
just have to you just have to figure out why you're saying that and then find, the way forward.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, well, Nathan, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. We got to meet one time in person off camera. You seem like an awesome guy. Appreciate you coming on, and everything else. You dropped some crazy value, and like I think a lot of these questions I wanted to ask were more like unique, like kind of case by case situation questions. And yeah, it was great chatting with you. I'll let you get to your call again. Thank you for coming on, and yeah, I'll text you. Maybe we could do something sometime.
Of course, 100%, man. Well, I really appreciate you having me on. I like the name Gengar the Goat.
Oh
Used to
yeah,
be a Pokemon fan myself. So yeah, have a great rest of your day. Good luck with the stream. Enjoy it, and we'll talk soon.
thanks. God bless. Talk soon.
Yep. See you later.
But let's go, Nathan.